Hi. In today's class, I am going to discuss on wait commands in Selenium. Okay. Mm, I wrote an article on this in my blog. So you have to go to the Selenium blog page. In the categories, you can find WebDriver wait. Okay. So this is the one you need to follow. I am pinging you this in the chart. So first, I will tell you the purpose of wait. We have already discussed it in the earlier sessions. Main purpose of wait is if the element means it could be either the text input or link or button, anything. Everything will treat it like a web element. Okay. If the web element is dynamically adding to the page, definitely you need wait because if you do some action that will be performed in the web page, right? But all the commands are running in Java. Java will execute the commands within fraction of seconds. Okay. So if you say dot click, then it will perform the click. After that, it will try to execute the next command in Java. Okay. So you are clicking on some button. Uh, as as a resultant of that action, some text input is coming in the page. Okay. To get that element on the page, to load that page, it may need some 3 to 4 seconds. But if I don't wait for the 3 to 4 seconds, if I try to enter some text into it, it will say element not found, right? It will throw element not found exception. The reason for that is to complete that action, it will take some time. So you should bring the synchronization between Java and JavaScript. You should bring the synchronization between Java execution and the page loading part on the web browser. Okay. So to bring that synchronization between Java and the front end actions, we have WebDriver wait commands. Okay. So this picture depicts how many types of waits we have, what are all the categories in it. This will tell. Okay. Now I will go through this. Wait commands are introduced in WebDriver to tell Selenium that we would like to wait for certain amount of time before throwing an exception that it cannot find the element on the page. Below picture depicts the alternatives we have in WebDriver wait. Okay. What are all the alternatives we have? So in the WebDriver wait, we can segregate into two categories mainly. Few are in driver.manage.timeouts and few are in support.ua API. In support.ua package, we have it. So few waits are there in driver.manage.timeouts. So those wait names are implicit wait, page load timeout, and set script timeout. Now we'll explain each and every wait. What is the purpose of it? Implicit wait will tell the WebDriver to pull the DOM for certain duration when trying to find the elements. This will be useful when certain elements on the web page will not be available immediately and need some time to load. By default, it will take the value as 0 for the life of the WebDriver object instance throughout the test script. So what he's trying to say is if you say implicit wait, if you specify implicit wait before throwing element not found exception, it will wait for that amount of time for the entire WebDriver instance cycle. So you are launching the browser, right? From the time onwards till the closing of the browser, the timeout will be applicable for each and every element. If you call driver.find element, for each and every element, that wait will be applicable. So here I am saying driver.manage timeout.implicit wait 10 comma time unit dot seconds. So in the time units, I will specify what is the parameter. What is the parameter I am choosing as the time unit. So 10 comma time unit dot second means 10 seconds I am giving. So before throwing element not found exception, it will wait 10 seconds. Within the 10 seconds, if the element doesn't appear, then only it will throw. If I don't specify any value, what is saying, the default value is 0. So immediately it will throw element not found exception. But if you write this line, driver.manage.timeout.implicit wait, it will wait for 10 seconds before throwing the exception. So if you see here, the initialize driver, we are initializing the driver, right? After getting it, for cookies we used manage that get cookie named, get cookie, delete cookie, like we have, right? To manage timeout, there is something called timeouts. On top of timeout, we have implicit wait. Here you can provide. If you wanna wait for 5 seconds, you will give 5. If you wanna wait for 10 seconds, you will give 10. If you wanna wait for 1 minute, you will give 1. Or you can give 60 seconds also. The time unit, you have all. You have days, you have hours, you have seconds, you have microseconds, you have milliseconds, you have minutes, everything. But days and hours we don't use. No one will wait for 1 hour, no one will wait for 1 day, right? So most of the people will choose seconds only. This milliseconds, nanoseconds, microseconds also we don't use, because we can wait at least for 1 second, right? Within nanoseconds, microseconds, we cannot calculate the time. That's why most of the people will go ahead with seconds or minutes. If you wanna wait for 1 minute, then you will go ahead with 1 comma time unit at minutes. But most of the cases, people will go ahead with time unit at seconds, and they will provide the timeout as either 10 seconds or 5 seconds, something like that. So if I give implicit wait, so after initializing the driver, if I call driver.manager timeouts implicit wait, and if I specify the values, till that time it will wait to throw the exception. Even it didn't find that element on the page, it will wait for that much time, and then only it will throw it. Within the time, if it is able to find that element, then it doesn't throw. But within the time also, if it is not able to find that element, then it will throw the element not found exception. If I don't uh, declare it, then immediately it will throw. So here I am trying to find the element with this identification logic, right? Assume that to get this element it may take 3 seconds or 4 seconds. If I don't define it, then Java will execute the commands within fraction of a second, right? So this line of code will throw element not found exception. But if I specify 10 seconds, then it doesn't throw any exception. It is loading in 4 seconds, right? So it will find it and it will do the action. So that's the advantage. Second is page load timeout. The purpose of it is, if you reload a page or if you open a page, it will take some time to load it, right? By default, the value is 60 seconds. By default, for page load, the value is 60 seconds. So within 1 minute, if any website is opening, you don't need to use this page load timeout. But some websites may take 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So if you have that much time, if you need to wait for that much time, then definitely you should define it. In my case, it is taking 100 seconds. That means more than 1.5 minutes it is taking. If I don't define it, after waiting for 1 minute, it will throw the page is not loaded exception. Some exception it will throw. But if you wanna increase the default value is 60 seconds. Within 60 seconds, if the page loads, then you don't find any exception. But within 60 seconds, that means within 1 minute, if it is not in a position to load the page, then it will throw the exception. If you want to overcome that, if you know that the website will take more than 1 minute, then you can declare this one, driver.manager timeouts.page load timeout. This is applicable only for page loads. Okay, and here you will define time unit dot seconds and you will give the value. So that is the max time I will wait. If I don't find the value, then I will throw the exception. If you give the timeout as negative, the page loads can be indefinite. That means it will wait for infinite time. Even it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes, it will wait. So if you give a negative value, the value will become infinite. This page load timeout is applicable only for page loads. So here I can say page load timeout. And you can provide something, some value, and the time unit you can define minutes or seconds, you can choose. Now set script timeout. Using Selenium you can execute some script. Script means this one. So if I press F12 in the console, there are few scripts like this. Alert high. If I say alert high, this is JavaScript. If I execute the script, I will get some alert like this. So using that script only, we can generate alerts like that. Using Selenium, you can execute JavaScript. Okay. Uh, to execute that JavaScript, if it takes much time, if you need to wait till that script execution completion, then you can use set script timeout. So for this also default value is around 30 seconds. If you want to increase that, you can use this set script timeout. So there is something called driver that manage the timeouts, that set script timeout. Okay, if you define some value here, till that time it will wait. Till that time it will wait for the script execution completion. So these are all things you don't use in real time much, but for interviews purpose you need to remember them. If someone asks how many kinds of WebDriver wait you know, you have to tell them that I know two kind of wait, implicit waits and explicit wait. In implicit waits, these three will come. There are two kinds of waits, implicit and explicit. The differences I will tell later. But if someone asks all kinds of waits, you have to tell all these names. In WebDriver wait, there are five kinds of wait: implicit wait, page load timeout, set script timeout, explicit wait, and fluent wait. These are all the types I know. Like that, you have to explain them. So I told you right, if you use implicit wait, that wait will be applicable for all the elements on the page. Page load timeout is applicable for the page loads actions, and set script timeout is applicable for JavaScript execution. So to execute some JavaScript on the browser, if it takes 1 minute or 2 minutes, if you want to wait for that script execution completion, then you can use set script timeout. Now there are two more waits called fluent wait and explicit wait. First I will explain fluent wait. This fluent wait only we are using right now. Wait for element presence, wait for element clickable, wait for element visible we are calling, right? So these are all will come under explicit wait. So how can you define explicit wait means, I will explain how I have written that wait util. Okay, there is a class called wait. Okay, so this is the way to write the code for that. First say wait that is there in support.ui. I mentioned right within the package it is there. Within support.ui it is there. So wait, here you should provide the type as WebDriver and give some name for it, wait handler or wait obj, something like that. Give some name, then you should create object for WebDriver wait. So this is the syntax, you don't need to remember. Anyway, I have shared this wait util class with you, right? So this will accept two things, driver object and timeout in seconds. This timeout in seconds means that's the maximum time you need to wait for that element. So do you want to wait for 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 60 seconds or 120 seconds, 180 seconds? What's the max timeout? Okay, because if I don't provide max timeout, it will wait for infinite time, right? So you will give the max timeout. Even in worst case it doesn't take more than 5 minutes. Even in worst case it doesn't take more than 3 minutes. You know, right? In your website what is the max time you will wait. Even in the worst case it doesn't take more than 10 minutes to load the page. If you know that, then you will give the timeout as 600. 600 means 10 minutes, right? So yeah, based on that, you based on your knowledge on the website, you can choose the max timeout. How much time you need to wait for max, okay, to throw that element not found exception, or for any other exception, how much is the max time you will wait. Based on your knowledge, you will choose one of the value. So if you know that it will definitely load within 10 minutes, then you will choose the value of 600. If you know that it will load um, in within 2 minutes, then you will choose the max timeout as 120 seconds. So what is the max time? Even in worst case, what is the max time it will take to load the page, or to load to show any elements on the page? That value will choose as the max timeout. So after choosing it, on the wait object, there is some method called until. Okay, in the until, you need to define the condition. So for what condition you are waiting. So there is a class called expected conditions. Within the expected condition, there are so many things. If you are waiting for a alert, you will say alert is present. So I'm waiting for the alert present. That is the meaning. So if you are waiting for the select boxes, you will say element selection state. Like that, based on your use case, you will choose it. But most of the cases, we will use presence of element located. Okay, presence of element located means till the element appearance in the DOM, I am waiting. That is the meaning. So if you say expected conditions dot presence of element located, it will be waited till the element comes in the DOM. The element comes on the page, it will wait. Okay, so if I am writing the implementation for wait for element presence, I will choose this method, presence of element located, and I will give the by locator, by.xpath or by.css, something that I have to provide. So instead of writing these two lines of code again and again, I made it like a method, wait for element presence. So I made a method and I wrote these two lines of code here. And if I am waiting for a wait element visibility, in the expected condition only, there is some method called visibility of element located. This is presence of element located, this is visibility of element located. This is element to be clickable. So everything is there in the expected condition. If you wanna write it by your own, you can write in this way, or you can use my method. These three are most frequently used, but sometimes you need to wait for alerts, you need to wait for frames, you need to wait for windows. So all are there in the expected conditions only. So you just need to click on expected condition and you have to choose them. If you are waiting for the alerts, you should say alert is present. If you are waiting for select box, you need to say select box. Or if you are waiting for visibility conditions, if you are waiting for the text boxes, so you can choose one of them. But present, these three are enough for you. But if you are working in some complex project, you may explore on other expected conditions and you can use them. So it will accept the max timeout. Okay, so till the max timeout it will wait. Even within the time it doesn't find the element, then only it will throw the exception. And in many of the interviews, they will ask this question: what is the difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? The main difference between them is, if you define implicit wait, that will be applicable for all the elements on the page. If I have 10 input boxes, 10 links on the page, then that wait will be applicable for all the elements. The explicit wait is applicable for the specified element. Here I am asking the by logic, right? Whatever the by logic you will provide, only for that element the wait will be applicable, and it is not applicable for all other elements. Okay, that is the difference. What is the difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? Means implicit wait is applicable for all the elements on the page. Explicit wait is applicable for the defined element. Whatever the by logic you are providing, only for that element the wait is applicable. Which is preferable? That is also people will ask. In implicit wait and explicit wait, which is preferable? The answer is explicit wait. Explicit wait is preferable than implicit wait. The reason for it is, if I open facebook.com, If I wait for this email field, I don't need to wait for remaining fields, right? If one field is coming on the page, means the page is loaded. I don't need to wait for all other elements. It's waste of our time, right? To make it applicable for all other elements also. To make the wait applicable for all other elements also, it is waste of our time. It's not needed. If one element is present on the page, means all other elements are also present on the page. You don't need to wait for all other elements. So you will define explicit wait for first element on the page, and you will go ahead. You don't apply wait for all other elements. So that's why if I use implicit wait, what will happen? The wait is applicable for all other elements on the page, all other elements too on the page. So it will bring additional overhead to the program, right? It will bring additional overhead to the Selenium WebDriver. That's why people don't use implicit wait in real time. They will go ahead with the explicit wait only in most of the cases. And the last one is fluent wait. The purpose of fluent wait is it is more or less similar to explicit wait only. The only difference between explicit wait and fluent wait is the pool time. What does that mean by pool time? I am defining the max timeout, right? I am defining the max timeout as 30 seconds. Okay. If I provide max timeout as 30 seconds, it doesn't mean that it will definitely wait for 30 seconds. If the element appears on the page within 2 seconds, it doesn't wait for remaining 28 seconds. It will go ahead and perform the action. If I'm waiting for email field and if I define the max timeout at 30 seconds, it doesn't wait for 30 seconds. If the FB page loads within 2 seconds, it will enter email into the email field. Okay. So how the program knows that the element is appeared within 2 seconds? You should check, right? With some time frequency, it should definitely go and check. Then only it will know when the element appears on the page. If I don't check with some time frequency, I don't know, right, whether element appears on the page or not. I should definitely wait for the max timeout. That's not the case. If I give the max timeout at 30 seconds, I don't wait for the 30 seconds. For every 2 seconds or 3 seconds, I will go to the page and I will check whether the element appears on the page or not. If the element appears, I will go ahead with the action. So that pooling time you cannot define if you use explicit wait. In explicit wait, it will go ahead with the default value. The default value is around 5 seconds, I guess. With that, it will go ahead. But if you use fluent wait, you have this option. So whenever you are creating a fluent wait object, you need to provide with timeout, that is the max timeout, and you can define pooling every. Pooling every means with what time frequency you are going to check the page. Here you can provide 1 second or 2 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So you can increase or decrease the default value. That option you don't get if you use explicit wait, but if you use fluent wait, you can get that option also. So in the interviews also they may ask this question: what is the difference between fluent wait and explicit wait? In fluent wait, I can define the pooling time, but in explicit wait, I cannot define it. That is the only difference between fluent wait and explicit wait. What does that mean by pooling time? With some time frequency, we should go and check whether the element is present on the page or not, right? The time frequency is known as pooling time. Is it clear for you both? All the wait commands and what is the purpose of it? Okay, good. So this is all about waits, and I forgot to tell you about select boxes. How can we handle select boxes in Selenium WebDriver? That is also I will tell now. So if you have a select box like this, how can you choose an option in the select box in Selenium WebDriver? That we didn't discuss, right? So this is a select box. In that, four options are there. Volvo, Saab, Opel, Audi. So these are all the four options I have. If I have to choose one of the option, how can I choose that? Before we go ahead with that, I need to tell you these things. For every option, a index will be provided and index will be started from 0. If I have four options, then the indexes will start from 0 and they will end with length minus 1. So I have four options, right? So the indexes will be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. If you take any select box, the indexes will be associated like this only. They will start from 0 and they will end with the length minus 1. So I have four options. So the index for Volvo is 0. So SAB is 1, 2, 3. So this is the this is provided by front-end technologies itself. Okay, the indexes will be assigned to the options, and this is known as text content of the element. We know, right? This is known as text of the option. This is the text content of the option, and this value is known as, so the value inside value attribute is known as value of that option. So for each option there is a value, there is a text, and there is a index. So you can find, you can choose an option of the select box using any one of them. You can use either value of the option, you can use either text of the option, or you can use index of the option. Using any one of these three, you can select a option in the select box. Now I will show you the code. How can we select that in the Selenium WebDriver? So there is a class called select. We have actions class, right, to perform double click, right clicks, and mouse overs. Like that, there is a class called select. For the select, you need to pass the web element. First, you will find the select box as the normal web element, and you will create an object for select class by passing this web element as the argument. Okay. On top of that select box, you have these methods: select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. Using any one of the methods, you can select it. Now let me run the program. In this, I have only one select box. That's why I'm saying by tag name select. So the element will be identified. After that, I am passing that web element as an argument to this select class, and I'm creating select object. On top of select object, I have this method select by index. Okay. I am planning to choose the third option. I am planning to choose the third option. I told you, right, the indexes will start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So what is the index for the third option? 2, right? So I am giving select object dot select by index, and I am giving 2. That means third option has to be selected. We will see. So now the first option is selected, right? Now let me run the command. See, now third option is selected. So this is one of the way. How can we select an option in select box? You can use select by index, and you can provide the index of that option, then that option will be selected in the select box. Now select by value. If you look at the options for RD curve, what is the value? Small AUDA, right? So using this value attribute value also I can select it. So what I am saying here, instead of calling select by index, I am calling select by value, and I am giving the value of that option. The value of this option is AUDA. I am planning to select RD option, and the value of it is small AUDA, and I am giving it. See, now first option is selected. Let me run this command. See, now RD is selected. So using value of that option also you can select that in the select box. So how can you write the code? On normal web element, you don't find any option to select something. You need to convert that normal web element into select box element. How can you convert it? You will create an object for select box by passing that web element as the argument. You will say select, you will give some name, select my select equal to new select, and you will pass the argument. On top of select object, you will find all these select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. So for index, you will pass the index of the element. For value, you will pass value attributes value of that element. And for visible text means the text content only. Whatever the text I am seeing in the select box, that I can pass. So I am trying to select the second option, so I will pass the text content of it. Text content is nothing but the text what you are seeing within the select box. So if I want to select the select second option, I will pass the text what I am seeing here, capital S AAB, that I will pass. So in the interviews, they will ask like this: how many methods you have to select an option in the select box? You have to tell them that I have three options. One is select by index, select by value, and the third one is select by visible text. Now I created the select object. Here I am saying select by visible text, and I am passing the text of the second option. See, before running it, I have the first option. Let me run it. Select by visible text. See, now the second option is selected, right? So in this way you can select an option within a select box. Okay, there are three methods: select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. For each option, these three will be associated. The value will be associated, index will be associated, select by visible text. Even you have three options, in real time people will use select by visible text only. The reason for it is, um, if I use select by index or select by value, then the end user or the person who is writing or the person who is passing the values, he should know, right, how to debug it. He should press F12 and he should debug. He should open that option tag within the DOM, and he have to check what is the value of that option. Then only he can pass that to select by value method, right? Or if I ask him the index, he should know where the indexes will start. Okay, how will it work, how the index will be associated, the knowledge he should have. Then only he can pass the index. Or if he knows how to debug, how can he check the value of that option, then only he can pass that. So some knowledge is needed to pass either value or index of the option. But in case of visible text, it's very easy, right? Whatever he is seeing on the page, that he can pass. Even he don't know how to debug, how to find the value of the option, even he doesn't have knowledge on the indexes of the option, he can easily pass the text. So that's why when compared to both select by visible text, when compared to both select by index and select by value, select by visible text is preferable. Okay. Now there is one more thing called is multiple. The purpose of is multiple is, so some select boxes looks like this. Instead of one thing, you can choose multiple at a time. That you can find in some interviews. Okay, I'm a software engineer. I know multiple technologies. I know Java, I know JavaScript, I know Selenium, I know HTML, I know CSS. So if you give me a select box, if you give me a single select, You are restricting me, right? You gave me 20 technologies. In that I know 10 technologies. You should give me an option to choose all the technologies I know. If you design a select box like previous one, what will happen? I can choose only one option at a time, right? Even I know 5 technologies, I can choose only one. That is wrong. So to serve those purposes, uh, there are select boxes like this. Okay, you can choose multiple options at a time. This is known as multi-select. So using Selenium, you should know how to choose multiple options in the select box if it is a multi-select. Okay, that one is known as single select, this one is known as multi-select. Okay, if you have a select box and if you want to know whether it is a multi-select or single select, you can get it using this API is multiple. If it is a multi-select, it will return true. Is multiple API is multiple method will return true. If it is a single select, it will return false. It's a multi-select, right? I am able to choose more than one option. So if I call is multiple, it will return true for me. If I run the same example with single select, see this. See, this is a single select, right? At a time I can choose only one option. If I call is multiple method now, it will return me false. So is multiple method is there to distinguish a single select and multi-select boxes in Selenium WebDriver. In multi-select, along with selecting the options, so for multi-select also you can use those 3 methods only: select by index, select by value, select by visible text. You can use to select the options. But in multi-select, along with select, there is an option called deselect. I selected 3 options. After that, I thought of deselecting the third option. So I can deselect like this. Okay, I will select them using those 3 methods. How can I deselect the option which is already selected? So to deselect also there are 3 options: deselect by index, deselect by value, and deselect by visible text. We'll see it now. First let me run deselect by index example. So in the select box, in the multi-select, assume that these 3 are selected. Okay, these 3 are selected. If I wanna deselect the third option, I will say deselect by index 2. See this, before running this command, I have 3 options. Just it. Now see, the third option is deselected. So you can use deselect by index in this way to deselect it. Now instead of using deselect by index, you can use deselect by value also. Now Now also last 3 options are selected. I wanna deselect the last option. The value of RD is small a to a, that we have already seen, right? So I'm calling my select dot deselect by value and I'm passing the value of it. See, all the 3 are selected. And running this code. It is deselected. So using deselect by value also you can deselect the option. Third one is deselect by visible text. This is simple when compared to both. You don't need to inspect the element, or you don't need to have the knowledge of indexes. Whatever you are seeing there, the text you can pass for this method. See this, all four options are selected. I wanna deselect the second option. So the text I'm seeing is capital S AAB. The same text I'm passing here and I'm calling. See, that is deselected. Three are there and this one is deselected. So using deselect by visible text also you can deselect it. So for like selecting, for deselecting also there are three methods: deselect by index, deselect by value, deselect by visible text. For index you will pass the index of the option, for value you will pass the value of the option, for visible text you will pass the text what you are seeing on the page. Along with these three we have one more called deselect all. Okay, irrespective of the option selected, if you want to deselect all the ones what are all selected, you can use this method deselect all. See this. I have a select box. Otherwise, take this one only. I have four options select box. In that, three are selected. I wanna deselect each and every one. If I have to use deselect by index or deselect by value, if I have only those three methods, deselect by index, deselect by value, or deselect by visible text, for each and every option I need to find index or value or visible text, and I need to call the method, same method three times, right? If I have a select box of 100 options and 25 of them are selected, then assume that case you need to write deselect by value 25 times, or deselect by visible text 25 times, or deselect by value 25 times, like that you need to write. So to handle those situations we have this method called deselect all. If you call deselect all, irrespective of the number of options you have, irrespective of the number of options you have selected, it will deselect everything. It doesn't ask you either index or name, index or value or visible text of the option. It will deselect everything. It will give you a fresh select box without selecting anything. See this, I have three options which are selected. Now let me run deselect all. Is deselecting, right? One by one. It deselected. Now all are deselected. So these are all the methods we have in this select class. What are all the methods? Select by index, select by value, select by visible text. These three are there to select the option, and use multiple is there to distinguish the single select and multi select. And to deselect we have four methods: deselect by value, deselect by index, deselect by visible text, deselect all. So these are all the 8 methods you need to remember to handle select boxes. Is it clear for both of you? Or do you have any doubts? Handling select boxes is very simple. You just need to remember those methods. So it's clear, right? Okay, good. So tomorrow session is the last session for us. I will send this recording to you. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me tomorrow. Be prepared. We will discuss on the frameworks. What kind of frameworks we can develop on top of the Selenium. That's the last session we have. It will take around 40 minutes to explain that. After that, I will give the time to clarify your doubts if you have any. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 8:45 p.m. IST. Bye.